She's the determined dungeon crawler on a mission to save her father. It's Cadence from the NecroDancer series. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Cadence, she made her first appearance in the game Crypt of the NecroDancer, which originally released on PC in 2015, and was developed by the indie studio known as Brace Yourself Games. Crypt of the NecroDancer is a dungeon crawler very much like The Legend of Zelda, but what makes this game unique is that it's also a rhythm game that requires you to explore the dungeon by moving to the beat of the song. Throughout the game's main story, you play as a young girl named Cadence who is searching for her father, Dorian. But along the way, Cadence encounters a powerful warlock known as the NecroDancer who literally steals Cadence's heart from her. Now, Cadence has to reclaim what was rightfully hers and rescue her father from the NecroDancer's disco destruction. Or she can go to the present and do some yoga, or save the land of Hyrule with Link and Zelda. No, seriously, there's actually a Legend of Zelda crossover game that exists. But today, Cadence will fight some new monsters and new warlocks in a whole new dungeon. The dungeon known as the Super Smash Bros. Roster. So starting off, Cadence would be a below average mid-weight fighter. She'd have 2 jumps and no other movement options. But now, let's dive into her costumes. For Cadence's default appearance, she'll be in her iconic appearance from her debut game, Crypt of the NecroDancer. For her first alt, she'll ditch the medieval attire and rock a modern getup. This references her appearance in the most recent game in the franchise called Rift of the NecroDancer. For her second alt, Cadence's clothes turn green and her bandana turns red. This references both Cadence's father, Dorian, and Cadence's deceased mother, Melody. Then for her third alt, Cadence's jacket turns yellow and her skirt turns green. This references one of Cadence's closest friends, Dove. For her fourth alt, Cadence's hair turns darker and her clothes turn beige and dark purple. This references Arya, Cadence's grandmother and Melody's mother. For her fifth alt, Cadence's hair turns pink and her skirt turns blue. This references Harmony, the first boss that Cadence had to fight in Rift of the NecroDancer. For the sixth alt, Cadence's skin turns light blue and her outfit turns black and gray. This is a direct reference towards the NecroDancer himself. And the final alt will have Cadence in a black jacket, white hair, and a purple skirt. This references a character that was originally exclusive to the Nintendo Switch version of Crypt of the NecroDancer known simply as Reaper. But after a while, she was included in all the other versions of the game and even played a significant role in Rift of the NecroDancer. Now with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the moveset. Now before I begin, I do need to bring this up. Cadence will be one of the most unique fighters in the Super Smash Bros. Roster because she'll be incorporating the key mechanic that her games are well known for: rhythm. Just like in Crypt of the NecroDancer, Cadence's entire fighting style revolves around attacking in sync with the beat of the song. You see, above her damage display, a small heart icon will appear with 2 small lines that travel to the heart. As the lines converge and touch the heart, it pulses, indicating that the beat has finally dropped. This pulsing beat acts as a sort of visual cue, so players must time their attacks to the heart's pulse. If you successfully land attacks on the beat, Cadence will slowly begin to glow yellow, which references her powered up state from Rift of the NecroDancer. When she manages to hit an opponent 10 times while timing her attacks to the beat without missing a hit, she'll completely glow yellow, which will cause all of her attacks to become faster and deal more damage than usual. This means that if Cadence timed her attacks correctly, then she'll be a combo master, probably more so than the other combo masters already in Smash. However, just because she's great at making combos, that doesn't mean she's completely invincible. You see, despite dealing more damage to opponents, her attacks will deal even less shield damage, meaning that players can easily shield her attacks. And second, if Cadence happens to get hit by an opponent's attacks, or if she accidentally skipped a beat, then her glow will fade away and she'll be forced to time her attacks back from square one. I know this gimmick sounds pretty hard, and I imagine it would be harder to pull this gimmick off if you're playing in an online match. But on the bright side, you don't have to use this gimmick to play as Cadence. Cadence is still pretty strong and versatile without timing her attacks. However, if you want to turn the tides of the battle and help make Cadence win, then I highly recommend using her rhythm gimmick. Okay, now with that gimmick out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into her neutral attacks. Not gonna lie, I'm extremely certain that Brace Yourself Games intentionally created Cadence to get into Smash, as she had quite a lot of stuff to work with for this moveset. But in case anyone's wondering, I'm mostly basing this moveset off her playable appearance in Crypt of the NecroDancer. I will be including a hint of elements from her appearance in Rift of the NecroDancer, but this moveset will mostly pull some items and elements from her debut game. And another thing, Cadence here will be fighting by using different types of weapons, so she's kind of a hybrid between Link and Violet, hilariously enough. So starting off with her jab, it'll be a 3-hit jab where Cadence pierces her dagger forwards. It's a pretty quick jab, but it's also not that strong. For the dash attack, Cadence will be spinning the Cat O' Nine Tails weapon multiple times, which can drag foes in and deal multiple hits of damage until the final hit. This attack is useful for racking up damage pretty quickly, but that also means it has a tad bit of end lag. For the side tilt, Cadence will equip a rapier and pierce it forwards twice. Because she automatically pierces it twice, this move will deal 2 hits of damage. Not only that, but just like Marth's sword-based attacks, getting hit by the tip of the rapier will deal the most amount of damage and knockback. For the down tilt, Cadence will snap a whip downwards. This move has a tiny bit of start lag and doesn't deal much damage, but it can be useful for all sorts of combo setups. For the up tilt, Cadence will pierce a spear upwards. Just like the side tilt, this move deals the largest amount of damage and knockback if opponents happen to have been hit by the tip of the spear. It also can launch foes upwards at the start of the move, similar towards Sephiroth's up tilt, hilariously enough. Now for the forward smash, Cadence will equip a broadsword and swing it from high to low. If it wasn't apparent, this smash attack is one of Cadence's deadliest attacks, as it has the capability to KO foes at early percentages. But as you might have predicted, this also means that it has a tad bit of start lag and a lot of end lag. For the down smash, Cadence will equip a shovel and dig 2 holes on opposite sides of herself. Despite this move looking and sounding like Villager's down smash, this move's speed changes depending on the beat of the song. For the up smash, Cadence will equip a flail and swing it from left to right. Just like her forward smash, this is another one of her strongest attacks that can cover a wide arc. But also like her forward smash, this move has a tad bit of start lag and a lot of end lag. For the neutral air, Cadence will shoot out an X-shaped magic spell all around herself. This move can deal a surprisingly large amount of damage, but it also has a pretty short range. For the forward air, Cadence equips her spear again and pierces it forwards. This move is unique because if you use the move on a wall, then Cadence will cling onto the wall and perform an extra jump. For the back air, Cadence equips a long sword and swings it directly behind herself. This move reaches a surprisingly far distance, but it isn't all that strong. For the down air, Cadence swings a broadsword from left to right. If it wasn't apparent, this move will have the capability to spike anyone that happen to have been too close. And finally, for the up air, Cadence twirls a whip upwards, dealing multiple hits of damage until the final hit. But where Cadence moves to the beat is with her special attacks. For Cadence's neutral special, Cadence will equip her guitar from Rift of the NecroDancer and strum it a single time. Once Cadence strums her guitar, a medium-sized shockwave surrounds herself. If players happen to be hit by this shockwave, they'll be shocked into place for a brief second and then immediately get launched. I know this move may sound lame, but it also connects to Cadence's rhythm mechanic. It's a short time move and doesn't deal much damage, so it's actually really useful for her rhythm combos. However, even though she can spam this special, she can't shock players into place multiple times if they got hit once by the shockwave, so keep that in mind. Now for Cadence's side special, Cadence will use a fire spell and shoot out a long fire beam forwards. This beam acts like a combination between Lucas's PK Fire and Robin's Thoron beam, where the fire spell will travel a long distance and launch opponents on impact. However, unlike either of their specials, this move comes out almost immediately after the special button is pressed. Not only that, but this move travels a surprisingly far distance, about half the distance of Kazuya's laser beam to give a comparison. Despite this special sounding pretty OP, its biggest flaw is that, once the move is finished, Cadence won't be able to use the side special again until 20 seconds have passed. Not only that, but this move doesn't deal a lot of damage or launch players really far. It also counts as a projectile, so be wary of using this move against foes with reflectors. Now for Cadence's down special, this move will change if you either tap the special button or held it down. Simply tapping the special button will have Cadence use her bomb spell to create a bomb. Once the bomb is teleported in, Cadence can throw it by pressing her down special again or by pressing the A button. From there on out, it behaves like a slightly stronger version of Young Link's bomb with a slightly larger explosion radius and slightly more damaging. However, unlike Young Link's bombs, where he can immediately grab another bomb after the first one exploded, Cadence cannot use her bomb spell again until 5 seconds have passed after the first bomb exploded. Also, just like all the bomb-based moves in Smash, it does count as a projectile, so be mindful of that. Now if you hold down the special button, the move will change. Instead of placing a bomb, Cadence will use a shield spell and create 4 small shields that spin all around herself. No, not that kind of small shield. Anyways, once the small shields spin, Cadence will be completely invincible to any and all attacks. Hand combat, melee attacks, and even projectiles will be nullified when they hit these shields. I know this move sounds insanely broken, but there is one huge flaw with these shields. Just like a regular shielded opponent, Cadence can easily be grabbed out of these shields. Not only that, but these shields only cover Cadence's front and back. It doesn't shield any attacks from above. That unfortunately means that Cadence can still take damage if she got hit by an aerial attack from above. You can only use this shield for about 10 seconds at a time, and you can't use it again until 30 seconds have passed, so keep that in mind. And finally, for Cadence's up special, Cadence will strum her guitar yet again, but this time it causes a rift to appear behind herself. Once the rift appears, it sucks in Cadence and causes another rift to appear directly above the spot she used her up special at. After this, Cadence goes into freefall until she gets attacked or lands back on the stage, whichever happens first. This may sound like a lame up special, but there are actually 2 unique properties with this move. First of all, unlike most teleporting moves in Smash, Cadence can't aim where the other rift appears. It only appears directly above where she used the up special at. The reason for that is because it references the rift position when it drops monsters in Crypt of the NecroDancer. And second, if Cadence used this move right next to an opponent or nearby items, then they'll get dragged in and teleport alongside Cadence. The downside with this is that even though Cadence will go into freefall, the opponents will still be able to perform an extra jump or even attack, so keep that in mind. And now, for the final smash. Cadence's final smash will be Golden Lute. For this final smash, Cadence will play the most powerful instrument and weapon in the entire NecroDancer series, the Golden Lute. Once she equips the Golden Lute, she'll automatically rift to the very center of the stage. After this, she starts to play the Golden Lute, which causes a large shockwave to appear all around herself and shoot out large beams of sound into many different directions. Then, after a few seconds of this madness, Cadence will strum the Golden Lute as hard as she can, which causes the shockwave to explode, dealing large amounts of damage and covering the majority of most stages, ending the final smash. This final smash references the NecroDancer's main weapon that he used to try and defeat Cadence and Dorian, as well as Melody's main weapon in Melody's solo storyline. The stage of choice is the Disco Dungeons from Crypt of the NecroDancer. This stage is reminiscent of the New Pork City stage in Smash, where it's a large stage with many different platforms. What makes the stage unique is that there are some traps on the stage that will damage players, slow down their movements, make them jump, or even temporarily reverse their controls. Not only that, but the environment and aesthetics will visually change depending on which song plays in the background. If you're playing a song from Zone 1 of the original NecroDancer game, then the stage will look like it's in a cave. However, if you play a song from Crypt of the NecroDancer, then the stage will have interdimensional and city elements. In the background, you can see various NecroDancer characters cheering on the players. Since the NecroDancer series is all about rhythm, the music was easy to come up with, so I'll be going with most of the songs from both Crypt of the NecroDancer and Crypt of the NecroDancer. In total, 25 songs will be included, 10 of which will be remixed. And that would be if Cadence joined Super Smash Bros. I know I'm a few weeks late to the party, but this video is meant to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the original Crypt of the NecroDancer. This is probably one of the most unique indie games I've ever played. It's honestly quite surprising that Crypt of the NecroDancer hasn't been recognized in Super Smash Bros. At all. I mean, there was literally a Zelda crossover game a few years ago, so I honestly was hoping to see Cadence as a Mii costume like a few of the other indie mascots. But for some reason, that never happened. Oh well, maybe it'll happen in a future Smash title. Anyways, do you have a character you'd like to see be given a Smash moveset? If so, let me know in the comments down below. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe? That way you can get notified when I put out any Super Smash Bros. Moveset videos. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.